Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to 2020 Vision, a new politics podcast with me, Alexander.
And me, Julian.
Last week, we talked about if generational change is really necessary in politics. And this week, we are going to be talking about a particular candidate that has been living in Joe Biden's shadow for a while, but continues to have a second place.
And that candidate is Bernie Sanders.
Yes.
So this episode is called The Bernie Effect. So we're going to talk a little bit about where he's been over the last couple years.
What he stands for.
What he stands
which is a
for
lot.
about him. But first, we're going to go over some news in the election right now. We'll start by talking about the polls.
There was a new Monmouth University poll in which Biden remains in first. However, Biden is not as popular in the states that will be holding caucuses soon as he is in the states that will be holding caucuses later, I think in 2020 as opposed to 2019. In addition, Pete Buttigieg, who was a dark horse, has fallen to fifth place as Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris climb the ranks.
And our highlighted candidate, Bernie Sanders, is in second place with Kamala Harris behind him, and then followed by Warren, as Alex said. But in a Real Clear Politics poll, Harris is in fourth with, I believe it's Warren in third. But Biden is first and Bernie is still second. Yeah.
Yes. And Bernie has maintained, as I stated before, second place for a while now. And for a while now means he's maintained second place all the way back to the 2016 election, where he narrowly lost to Senator and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton.
So just a few quick facts about Bernie is that he's 77 years old and born in Brooklyn. He would be the first Jewish president.
Mm-hmm.
He is Democratic, but is an independent senator from Vermont, and he's been in the government since 1981, being a mayor and a representative.
And while he does not have as much experience as Biden, who has been in politics since the 70s, I think, he still is formidable. In addition to being an independent senator, he is a very prominent democratic socialist. Democratic socialists of the U.S. include people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, with her Green New Deal and various ideas about our economy. So, tying into our last theme of generational change, Bernie has fallen, I guess, he's subject to this criticism that he is too old, which has also fallen upon Joe Biden, who has stayed on top for a while now. And I'm just going to read a quote from a recent town hall. I'll take that. It is a fair question. All I can say is, if there was wood, I would knock on it. But I think when you look at a candidate, you could look at experience. I was a mayor for 8 years, and I know a little about local government. I was a member of the House, a member of the U.S. Senate, and I've been all over the world talking to heads of state. So I think it is a combination of factors. But at the end of the day, this is about, and I honestly believe this is about, it's not whether you're young, not whether you're old. It's about what you believe in. And Bernie believes in a lot.
So in 2016, Bernie was close to Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren, but they are now competitors. That's another quick fact. As he said in the quote, he doesn't care whether you're young or old. It's what you believe.
And the funny thing about Bernie Sanders is that although he is old and, as I mentioned before, with age can sometimes come conservatism, he is very liberal, and he has pioneered several issues that we now see in mainstream politics, including one really big one, Medicare for All, which has been embraced by many of the members of his party, or not his party, the Democratic Party, as well as many of the other 2020 candidates. And you see people like Kamala Harris and Julian Castro, and Elizabeth Warren, all rallying on his ideas, yet still competing with him.
Something else that I notice about Bernie is that he really represents New England, as well as Elizabeth Warren. But something that I see in him and not so much in other candidates is what he represents. He represents the young Americans. He represents old Americans. He represents people from the East, people from the West. He 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 does. He does. I don't know what else to say.
And building on to you, Julian, in a recent Breakfast Club interview, he was talking about his staff because recently he's fallen under a little bit of a scandal with sexual harassment. In the 2016 election, a member of his staff claimed that she was sexually harassed by a manager. And he was talking about it, and he said that he vows to be less prejudiced and to have a more diverse campaign, and he's certainly done that. He has a very young supporter fan base. I mean, I saw a guy in a cafe. I think he was like 16 years old, and he had like Bernie merchandise all over him. He had a Bernie cap and a Bernie sweater and everything. And that is something that is quite admirable. So, although he is old, he does have an ability to connect with younger generations. So, going back to his positions, he also sponsors Green New Deal, whatnot, and I believe, what was it? $15 minimum wage, which has also been a key issue in the 2020 election. And economic security, economic equality, embraced by candidates like Andrew Yang, who offers, I think, $1,000 a month as universal basic income. So he's pioneered all of these issues, but still he falls under criticism. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's very hard to dodge that. Joe Biden, you saw with the as well as the sexual harassment scandal. Everyone has an issue. Elizabeth Warren had the issue with the Native American DNA testing. Amy Klobuchar's problem was being too tough with her employees.
One of the highest employee turnover rates in the Senate, the highest actually.
Julian Castro has been known for not really being in the economy game as much as the United States want him to, and as well as Cory Booker. A lot of people think he's too unorthodox. He's known for living in a poor section of Newark, New Jersey, and I think he saved a woman and her dog in a fire. You don't see that a lot.
And scandals, sometimes based on race, sometimes based on age, have befallen nearly all of the candidates. And one candidate, Richard Ojeda, I believe, Ojeda?
Yeah.
I thought it was hard, J. Recently dropped out from the race because he was a pro-lifer, and he